The governor of Oregon has commuted all death sentences for the 17 individuals on death row in Oregon. The governor is against the death penalty, and I think that this is an absolutely fantastic decision. CNN reports, Oregon governor calls death penalty immoral, commutes sentences for all 17 inmates on death row. Outgoing Oregon Governor Kate Brown is commuting the sentences of all 17 people on death row to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, according to a news release yesterday. She said, since taking office in 2015, I have continued Oregon's moratorium on executions because the death penalty is both dysfunctional and immoral. Today, I am commuting Oregon's death row so that we will no longer have anyone serving a sentence of death and facing execution in this state. She used executive clemency powers to commute the sentences. It is set to take effect today. Now, important to understand about the death penalty in Oregon generally, as the article says, Oregon has executed 2 people since the U.S. Supreme Court reinstated the death penalty in 1976, and since Oregon reinstated the death penalty in 1984. The most recent was in 1997. I think that this is a fantastic decision. I'm against the death penalty. I believe we should all be against the death penalty. And there are so many reasons, some of which I will tell you right now. Now, I want to say up front, sometimes there are people who are against the death penalty for 3 of the reasons I'm going to mention. And they will say, David, that 4th reason isn't very good. It's sort of fallacious, actually. Let's take them one at a time. And I know specifically what people are talking about, but let's take them one at a time. First of all, if we believe that human lives have inherent value, which is often part of the justification for the death penalty, meaning it goes something like, human life has inherent value. And so when you take a life, you are giving up your right to live, and therefore the state can or should take your life intentionally. If we are against the intentional taking of lives which have inherent value, then we can't say, except when the person has done A, B, or C, at which point the state should get involved in the business of taking life. Nope, doesn't make sense. The state should not be involved in that, and I am against it. Secondly, there are wrongful convictions all the time in our justice system. And in addition to there being innocent people on death row, there are also many cognitively limited people on death row. And so because we can't possibly get it right, we can't accept as a society the possibility of putting to death someone who may be innocent. Now you could say, but David, what if the system were perfect and there were no one innocent? I would still be against it for the other reasons that I'm mentioning. So don't, just because one reason alone isn't bulletproof, don't say it's not a reason. The state shouldn't be taking lives, and there are innocent people on death row, and there are cognitively limited people on death row. Solving just one of those things doesn't actually change anything. You can't undo taking a life. Whereas if you imprison someone and they're innocent, there's at least the chance of fixing it and compensating them in the future. Third, it does not appear as though the death penalty is an effective deterrent to crime, and that it is not actually making society safer. It's beyond the scope of this segment to look at that. But it's been widely studied. And so if it's not a deterrent, then why are we putting the state in the position of obtaining the chemicals that we use, which sometimes work and sometimes take hours? It doesn't make any sense. I also don't think that the death penalty is the harshest sentence for the offender. And what I mean by that is, based on my beliefs, you put someone to death and the lights go out, and their suffering or living with the consequences of their actions ends. If you put someone in prison without the possibility of parole, they're going to sit there for however long they live, living with the reality of what they did and that they now live in a box forever. Now, I am not one to say that there should be extra punishments, like, for example, prison rape. I'm against that. Those are indications that our prison system is unable to keep inmates safe. But I do believe that turning the lights off, for lack of a better term, is a less harsh punishment than making someone sit in prison for the rest of their life. So if your desire is the worst possible punishment and experience for the offender, it's life in prison without parole. And then if your concerns are financial, if you care about money, it's cheaper to do prison without the possibility of parole, because in our system, individuals on death row have significant access to appeals. Now, some people will say, get rid of the appeals. No. We need those appeals because there are so many innocent people on death row. So there is no reason to be for the death penalty. And I think what Kate Brown is doing is absolutely fantastic. And I'm glad to see that she did it.